After 6 weeks, the 49ers have the 11th ranked overall defense in the entire NFL, which isn't terrible, but is definitely a big step back from where the 49ers are used to being at. You look at the defenses with Robert Saleh, with D'Amico Ryans, and even with Steve Wilkes, who ended up leaving after 1 year. The 49ers are typically expected to be in the top 10 defense, realistically in the top 5, especially with the all-star cast that they have on the defensive side of the ball. You have all pros at every level, from Nick Bosa on the defensive line, to Fred Warner, to even Charvarius Ward, even Talanoa Hufanga, who's still nursing back some injury. But you still have Jair Brown. You still have Malik Mustafa, who looks very promising. You have a lot of studs on every level of the defense. And that didn't even include Deommodore Lenoir, who's having another career year. Now, the 49ers with the 11th ranked defense isn't living up to expectation. And why is that? There's a lot of contributing factors. Could it be Nick Sorensen because he's a rookie defensive coordinator? And one of the things is he does great in the first half, but doesn't do well adjusting in the second half when the offense makes their adjustments. And so is that on that side, or is it just simply personnel? And there's a few different things. If you break down the number 11 ranked defense for the entire year, you have a couple categories. You have your run defense and your pass defense. The pass defense for the 49ers is ranked 19 out of 32 teams, which is not great when you think of, you have Charvarius Ward, you have Deommodore Lenoir, you have Isaac Yiadom, you have Rock Ya-Sin, you have Renardo Green. You have a lot of great corners on the defense side of the ball. You have Jair Brown, you have George Odom, a veteran in the backfield, Malik Mustafa, Talanoa Hufanga, who's currently on IR. You have a lot of studs there. And even on the defensive line, you brought in Leonard Floyd to bring in that additional pass rush opposite of Nick Bosa. And you have some studs at the defensive tackle position where you thought you would take a step back, but actually it looks like you kind of shored up your run defense. Even with Javon Hargrave out, he was a pass rush specialist, out for the rest of the year. You still had some studs stepping up in the middle. In fact, when you break down the run defense, that's actually what stepped up for the 49ers. They are ranked number 7, averaging about 101 yards a game. Now, there was a time 5 years ago where the 49ers hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher in 14 straight games. This is far from that, but it is much better considering they are top 10 in the NFL with 101 and then 5 rushing touchdowns they've given. But that's ranked number 7 compared to their pass defense, ranked number 19. The question has to be, why is it so bad? It comes down to in between the 20s. In between the 20s is where the defense tends to give up a lot of chunk plays. And it's not where you would typically think. A lot of it is in the middle. And to be frank, it comes down to Devondre Campbell. Devondre Campbell was picked up in the offseason, wasn't even the top choice. It was Eric Kendricks who ended up jetting the 49ers for the Cowboys. But Devondre Campbell was picked up to help replace Dre Greenlaw. And the one thing with Devondre is you're going to get some of that run defense for him. He's going to help get in there. He's a bigger body, but he is slow. He is slow and has never ranked in the top half of linebackers when it comes to pass coverage. In fact, if you were to break down Devondre Campbell's numbers right now, if you go to pff.com, his pass rushing grade, pass rush, again, this is not what you're paying him. Pass rushing is 102nd out of 137 linebackers. His run defense is 121 out of 137. So what he should be good at, he's not even doing great at either. His coverage grade, 86th out of 137 linebackers. Now, if you bring in Dee Winters, who the 49ers drafted, this is who you need to replace Devondre Campbell with. If you look at his pass rush grade, 57.8, which is actually a tick up above Devondre Campbell. His run defense, which is actually better than Devondre's at 45.1, which is 117th out of 137. That is better than Devondre Campbell's right now, who's ranked 121. The area where Devondre should excel over Dee Winters, he's actually underperforming. Now, when you look at the coverage grade for Dee Winters, he's ranked 35th out of 137 linebackers, where Devondre Campbell is ranked 86th. That's the big area where you need to improve on the pass defense, is in the middle of the field. That's where your tight ends are going to be attacking you. You're going against Kansas City this week. They're going to attack you with their tight ends. They're going to attack you with Travis Kelce. They're going to attack you with those crossing routes and then go over the top. You can't have Devondre Campbell as a liability there in the middle when you have Fred Warner, who's a stud, and then they're like, okay, we'll just go on the opposite side of the middle where Fred Warner isn't at, because you have a liability in Devondre Campbell. I want Devondre Campbell to succeed as much as any other 49er fan does as well. But the truth is, that is not his bread and butter. He cannot do well against the pass. He just hasn't his entire career. That's one of the reasons that he's been moved on from year after year. The more and more this league is a passing league, Devondre Campbell just doesn't have a chance to shine because that's not his strong suit. In fact, even his strong suit, he's not even doing that well at, which is run defense. And so it's time to make a change. Kyle Shanahan, whether this comes from you, I don't think Nick Sorensen's going to do this because Nick Sorensen's a rookie, Devondre Campbell's a veteran, and so I think you need to have Kyle Shanahan step up right here and make the change. Say, you need to make the change to Dee Winters. We saw that last week, Thursday night, or a couple nights ago on Thursday night against the Seahawks. There were a couple series where Dee Winters went in. That needs to become more of a regularity. What better way to do that against the Chiefs, where you know they're going to be trying to get Travis Kelce, a heavy dose of Kelce in the game. Niners, you want your defense to take that next step up. The offense is starting to do better in the red zone. We saw last week, even though that's been atrocious. They've been great in between the 20s, but not so much in the red zone. Defense, if you want to start giving the offense more opportunities, you want to take that next step up and break into the top 10 for overall defenses, even the top 5, you need to do something about the middle linebacker position opposite of Fred Warner. Devondre Campbell needs to either only be in on rundowns or see what you have in Dee Winters. In fact, Dee Winters could surprise you in both aspects, and as he gets more reps, continue to improve those numbers for you. You need to do that because while Dre Greenlaw is going to be back, he's going to have to get back into football shape. He's going to have to get back into football shape, and that may not happen until the latter part of the season, closer to the playoffs. So you need to have depth there, and what better way to have depth with somebody who can actually cover the field, cover those crossing routes. In fact, you had Devondre Campbell on DK Metcalf in part of the game. If that's what some of your scheme calls up for, you can't have a linebacker that slow covering DK Metcalf. You have to have a guy that's faster, like a Fred Warner or Dee Winters, that can do that for certain plays. Granted, you do not want to make a habit out of that thing, but Devondre Campbell should not be covering any wide receiver. That's a mismatch nightmare. But it's time to go ahead and make that change to Dee Winters. Dee Winters is the future anyway, and you don't know if Dre Greenlaw is going to come back to his old self. You hope that's the case, but if you're a 49er fan, you know when Navarro Bowman tore his ACL, when he came back, he wasn't the same guy. He wasn't the same guy, and it breaks your heart, but you need to see what you have in your depth. And so Dee Winters, it's time to strap up those pads. Nick Sorensen, Kyle Shanahan, it's time to make that decision, insert him into the lineup, see what you have there, and see what that does for the overall defense. See how he can take that next step up, help that pass defense in between the 20s, help that pass defense in the middle of the field, and watch what happens to your defense. Well, that's all we have for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.